Look! That must be the leader, Saturnin. That was the leader. It must have been Saturnin. And if he's heading in there, that must be where the rest of the House of Sorrows are. We have to get past this door. We need to stop him before the rebels are all killed. The Fallen Hall is a fortress in the Phalanx. To get to its heart, we will need to open 3 great doors. There should be 2 other sigil stones that we can use in addition to the one before us. They will grant us passage. Farewell. Saturnin has sealed him farewell.
Oh, this is splendid. I was worried I would have nothing left to see to after I slaughtered these wretches. Saturnin. You use that name so freely, but your little guess is wrong. I am not Saturnin. I am but a blade that Saturnin has employed in his war. And now, that blade turns on you. You are more amusing than I originally believed. But my master has given me instructions to spare you. Saturnin has a message for you to deliver to your master. This war is over. Soon the sorrows will belong to the Tuatha.
I can scarcely believe it. All this death, all this destruction, and we have nothing to show for it. No Saturnin, no safety. The Weeping King left the world with good cause, for all that is left of the House of Sorrows is ruin. Farewell. Yes?
Saturnin. This latest wound he has dealt may be fatal. He need only for us to succumb, and then he can find these sorrows. So that is what we will deny him. Let our losses harden our resolve. Where once we sought victory, we shall now seek attrition. Fae are the embodiment of magic. When a Delver takes the burden of winter from a Fae, those burdens are in the form of magic. Over centuries, these magics have been collected, contained in a secret location, the sorrows that Saturnin seeks. Their location is an ancient secret. Only two Fae, the eldest, know. They left the house centuries ago to reside in Amalur. The way to them is blocked by the Great Scale, a mighty spell which you must bypass. That alone will open your path to the eldest. You must kill beasts on the pans of the scale. Death is the only weight it will bear.
Renfro's voice has fallen silent in this land. The Tuatha are frightened and disorganized. They run back to Alabastra to make their final stand. We owe you much. Our eyes are opened and our blades unsheathed. Cluricon is won, but the House of Pride stands between us and the final goal. We are now free to press forward. And I can take you to an old friend who knows the next step. Yes, we will take you to his filthy tower on the island of Danistar. He hides within, and has not emerged in some time. I would like nothing more than to let him rot there. But he knows of a way past the sentinel of the House of Pride. But there will be more danger on the path ahead. Take these blades to prepare for whatever troubles you will face at his tower or beyond. Far to the southwest, there is a darkened tree by the Caelid coast. Meet me there, and we can walk the shadow to the gnome's tower. Aelin Shear will be waiting there. She was most insistent to join in whatever business you have with the Collector of the Dead. We will meet again at the shadowed tree on the Caelid coast.
Hello.
Through the woods and mountainside, through the hollows and green meadow, through the summer, winter, day and night, through the hallowed halls of seasons and song, through the vengeance, pride and sorrow, echo the footfalls of the greaves of the Fey Hunter.
Stay. It's your funeral.
Hail, adventurer! I am Bruin the Bard, spinner of stories, seeker of adventure. Allow me to welcome you to the Caelid coast, haven to the wise and wicked. These brave soldiers, the finest of the Alfar armies, they escorted me all the way from Melsenshir to these verdant lands. Alas, our journey together has come to an end. But there is still adventure to be had, so join me. If not, then I bid you fair warning. Your journey shall be far less exciting without this storyteller at hand. Ah, yes. It has been nearly a decade since I have told tales for an audience, and I seek to reclaim that trade. These soldiers have been of no help. Fight, fight, fight. That's all they think about. So please, let me regale you with tales of the Kaled Coast. I will make sure your time is well spent, and there may even be a twist at the end. I had a good feeling about you. Someone who cherishes a good story. Let us proceed. The first stop on our tour begins across the bridge behind me. Alas, there is one small problem. That area is favored by our enemies. If you can clear the area of them, I will follow and join you. Goodbye.
The Tuatha have forced their war upon us. They eagerly cut through mortal flesh and mortal bone, and as a reminder of their butchery, they display these mortal corpses through...
Excellent work. You are clearly much more proficient in the ways of war than most visitors of the Kaled Coast, even the soldiers. It would be my great pleasure. Picture it, 10 years ago, the rising sun, a lingering fog. Somewhere in the forest are screams, the cries of battle. Then silence. It happened here upon this site. The ambush of Gorn Akri. It is here on this spot where the Bolgan drew first blood, killing Lord Erengastir, his son, and their squires during their morning ride. Let us move on, shall we? And if you don't mind, there are more beasts to attend to ahead. Goodbye.
A fledgling hunter by the looks of it. What's someone so soft doing in the Kaled Coast? Don't you know this is Bolgan country? Those red devils are really digging in. I've slain many on my hunt for Chernobog. The scars don't give me away? Ha! You're probably the first person in recorded history not to recognize the mighty Alof the Hunter. Usually my reputation precedes me. As for why I am here in this muggy puddle of piss, I intend to conquer Chernobog, the mighty Bolgan, and win his eye as my trophy. But first he must be summoned, for he won't just face any foe, you know. Only those he deems worthy to smite with his blade. Ha! You're certainly welcome to try, but I'm afraid he'll be much too dead by the time I finish with him. Besides, You still have the offering to consider. Chernabog will only battle those who can prove their ferocity. It is his way of swatting away the flies who don't offer enough of a thrill for his fiery blood. If you can collect the eyes of 10 Bolgans, then you are clearly a warrior who deserves a reckoning. Set the eyes upon Chernabog's war lanterns and the beast will emerge. Goodbye.
Hello. You have done it. You have rid the gates of the Bolgan. As promised, I have another tale to be told. The very first Erengastir arrived here generations ago from Melsenshir, before the final tower was raised, when the great giants of Cluracan were but saplings. On that very first morning of his arrival, while the sun ascended the sky, Gastir scaled the heights and saw below him the great keep of the merchant Ancilla. Gastir could not bear such an intrusion on his new ancestral homeland and swore an oath. By right of mine and sword in hand, I will not forsake our native land. Now that you've seen Castle Gastir, we should move on to the final stop on our journey. The last thing I want to show you is near the coast, on the cliffs overlooking the sea. It's the best story yet, but again, it must be freed of Bolgan. Goodbye.
The hunter runs. The hunter runs. Swiftly, swiftly for our lives. A mortal skirt of chain. A mesh of links for...
There, you've cleansed this place of the Bolgan. I shall tell you the last tale, the best of the lot. Believe me, these cliffs were made for my story. I've told the tale of the first Erengastr, he who discovered these lands, and I've told the tale of his descendant, the last Erengastr, he who lost these lands. My final tale is that this last lord took a young mistress to his bed, a servant named Wilda Brandon. They had a child he refused to claim as his own. To assuage his guilt, he wrote a royal letter in which he decreed to her and the child great wealth. But rather than take that letter, she took her own life. Here, that woman was my mother. Hear me, friend. I do not have much, but I will offer you all that I have to find me that letter. The letter that broke my mother's heart. Friends. Yes, I suppose we are friends. I'm not sure where to look for Father's letter. Father. It's strange to call him that. I would think he'd keep it near, lest such revelations be discovered. The castle. That would make some sense, wouldn't it? I'll be back at camp. Be careful. I would feel terrible if anything happened to you. Goodbye.
Oh, damn humidity. Can you smell the...
The Tuatha are on the run. Good work. Plus, it's much more pleasant here without Gadflo bellowing at me from all corners. But enough pleasantry. Are you prepared for your reunion with Ventrinio? The notes we got from Octien say that you were employed as Ventrinio's assistant in his secret laboratory. You were with him in Alabastra when you died, but the notes weren't clear on what happened. I'm sure the two of you have so much catching up to do. Very forthright of you. I'm sure he'll be very reasonable. He probably won't even ask why you're back from the dead. Just make sure he lives long enough to get us into Alabastra, and you can count on my help. I believe our new friend has a disturbing path of living shadow to offer you. By all means, be my guest.
Hey, what are you doing out here? Caelid Coast isn't a good place for a stroll, not at all. Do I know you? You have that look. Familiar. I fought with Captain Gastier at Melsenshire. Maybe we spent a few skirmishes together. I can't remember everything that happened. Can you? Don't go too far.